we finally got some official news about Rick Grimes returning to the Walking Dead universe. And now in today's video, I'm just going to be talking about the news that came out about a day or two ago. How does this confirm Rick Grimes' return? And how could Rick Grimes potentially fit in to the current Walking Dead universe, like the current spin-offs such as Daryl Dixon and Dead City? And what could come out of this news in the future? So please stay tuned. And now, before we actually get into the video, I'd like to ask you all to like, share, and subscribe. And again, thank you guys so much for the growth. Thank you guys so much for the support. I really appreciate it. And I would like to ask you all to like this video as much as you guys can. It helps a ton because the YouTube algorithm is absolutely demolishing my channel. So please like the video, subscribe, and comment down below. It helps a ton. But without further ado, let's get right into the video. So about 2 days ago, Andrew Lincoln was doing an interview with BBC, and it was about the most recent play he was doing back in England, and he was just talking about it and how, like, what part does he have in it and his experience with it. And the interviewer asks him about The Walking Dead, and he does state that it was tiring to play Rick Grimes, right, to lead this whole universe, right, and how big The Walking Dead universe and The Walking Dead main show became. It became very stressful for him. But then he was asked the question about could he return or will he return, and he said that there's a conversation going on right now about him returning to the Walking Dead universe. And this is great news, right? For the past 2.5 years, right, ever since the finale of The Ones Who Live, we've been picking at crumbs and just whatever news we could find, and we're just trying to theorize and speculate about when could Rick Grimes return. But by the looks of it, there's already a conversation going on behind the scenes, and again, this is great, right? I mean, it became like a situation of if Rick Grimes could even return whatsoever, and by the looks of it, there are considering that fact. And I think that with Andrew Lincoln saying this in the interview, I believe that something behind the scenes is happening, and I think that probably like the ink dried up on his contract and he's able to come back again very soon, right? Sooner rather than later. And yeah, like, you know, with Daryl Dixon going on and Dead City going on, it became very redundant. Yeah, you know, Daryl Dixon season 3 is going great so far. I still have to watch the 3rd episode, and Dead City season 2 was alright as well. But like, it's been 2.5 years, right, you know, since Rick Grimes returned, right, ever since his show, ever since The Ones Who Live. And we've been theorizing everywhere, like, where could he appear, right, if he's going to appear in the finale of Daryl Dixon season 2 or the finale of Dead City season 2, and it's just been a mess from there. And also with like all of those DVD boxes and also commercials from AMC for The Ones Who Live labeling it as season 1, right, it became very hard to know when is Rick Grimes returning or if he's going to return whatsoever. But like, I believe that Rick Grimes is going to return very soon, and I believe that we could see him in Daryl Dixon season 4. And now, as we all know, Daryl Dixon season 4 is going to be the final season of Daryl Dixon, right? And again, amazing show, but you know, they couldn't drag it out for way too long. And with Andrew Lincoln saying that they're currently in discussion for him to return as Rick Grimes, I don't think it's going to be a cameo, right? You know, if there's discussions going on behind the scenes and they're talking, right, there's a conversation going on, I don't think it's for a cameo. It's probably going to be for a cameo of Daryl Dixon season 4, right? You know, just to remind the audience that, yeah, you know, Rick Grimes is still the centerpiece of this universe, right? He still is the leading factor of this universe, and he's still the main character. So they're just going to stick him into Daryl Dixon season 4, and then they're going to build up to whatever crossover event they're going to have, which I think is going to be The Walking Dead season 12. And also another reason why I think he's going to appear in Daryl Dixon season 4 is because that is currently under production, right? You know, we know that, like how I said before, Daryl Dixon season 4 is the final season, and that's the season that's in production, right? Even Dead City season 3 has been in production for about a day or two now, but I am not going to put any money on Rick returning in Dead City season 3, right? You know, it was confirmed beforehand. Dead City season 4 is going to be the final season of Dead City, which it seems like that they're ramping up the production, right? You know, they're not dragging it for way too long, right? You know, as long as we thought that these spin-offs would take, I believe that you know they're just gonna shoot these spin-offs, right? Like the final seasons of them, and, you know, just get it over with. Maybe Rick could appear in Dead City Season 4, but I don't think that they're going to be having conversations right now for Dead City Season 4. If they're going to have conversations right now, it'd be for Daryl Dixon Season 4, and I believe that, you know, Andrew Lincoln was kind of exaggerating the truth there, right, about saying that, you know, they're in conversation right now. I think that, you know, he's basically signed on to return in Daryl Dixon Season 4, and I believe that his contract is going to be for multiple projects, right? And it could be for whatever new spinoff, right? It could be for a Morgan spinoff as well, and we could possibly see Rick appearing in each and every one of the spinoffs, where they could lead into the crossover spinoff or the Walking Dead movie, which would be very cool as well. And like how I mentioned in a lot of my other videos, right, these actors are not getting any younger, so it is best to have this reunion sooner rather than later. And as far as we've been seeing in Daryl Dixon Season 3, they're trying to get home, right? You know, Daryl and Carol are trying to get back home, and it looks like that Season 4 is going to be taking place in Spain as well. So I think that Spain is going to be their last stop, and from there, somehow, some way, they're going to find their way back to America. Probably Rick comes to Spain. Maybe they get a hold of Rick and the Commonwealth in Spain, and they tell Rick that, yeah, you know, these are our coordinates, right, and we're in Spain. So then we see a CRM helicopter or whatever Rick is going to be traveling on, and it's probably going to end right there, right? Probably Daryl Dixon Season 4 is either going to end off with Daryl and Carol going to the Commonwealth, and maybe it might just end like how The Ones Who Live did, right? We finally see Daryl and Rick reuniting, and then the show ends from there. Or we could see Rick coming to Spain, and the show ends from there, setting up a huge spinoff. But I think that they should get started with teasing or just building up towards that big bad, because with Andrew Lincoln having conversations right now, I think they're working out some sort of deal for multiple projects in the future, and to finally put a close to Rick Grimes' story after these spin-offs, right, and after whatever crossover spin-off is going to happen, I believe that this is going to be Andrew Lincoln's final contract with AMC. But yeah, like, I've basically lost all hope before in the Walking Dead universe, right? It was getting very frustrating, in my opinion, right? I lost all hope in Scott Gimple, right, and AMC in general, and I genuinely thought that Rick was not going to return, right? I was just making theories and speculation and just finding each and every breadcrumb of evidence that potentially Rick Grimes could appear, but Andrew Lincoln is not the sort of person to, you know, really hide details in interviews, or just like, you know how the Marvel actors do, or the DC, or like the big Hollywood actors, how they just hide their projects and they outright lie. I don't think Andrew Lincoln is doing that. He doesn't really have a history of doing that. If anything, I think that he is telling the truth here, and I think that this is the result of AMC looking at the reviews and seeing fan reactions very closely lately, right? And we've seen that with Dead City Season 2, there has been an evident change, and also Daryl Dixon Season 2 was very bad, right? You know, we could all admit that that season was not good, and they looked at it closely, right? You know, they changed some creative aspects of it, right? And Season 3 is much better, and I believe that one of the reviews and one of the things that fans have been saying that they've taken very closely is about Rick Grimes, right? Like, where is Rick Grimes? We could see Daryl and Negan all day, right? And these characters keep on showing up, but yet again, it does not feel like a connected universe. And I think that that aspect they're taking very closely as well. And I think that they're going to fix up the Walking Dead universe, because they, by the looks of it, they still have faith in this universe, but if they only play it right. And the only way to play it right is that if you have Rick Grimes showing up here and there in different spin-offs, and you have him reuniting with these characters, because technically the last time Rick met these characters was in Season 9 of The Walking Dead, and all these characters have went through these character changes and character developments and different storylines, and still they did not reunite with Rick, and a big chunk of the cast of The Walking Dead still believe that Rick is gone and he's dead. So it would be very nice to see these characters finally reuniting with Rick, and we could finally see Rick be in charge of the Commonwealth and be a leader again. But when it comes to the big bad or whatever they're building up towards, because I still don't know what's going on, right? What they're building up towards, right? Because Daryl Dixon season 1 and 2, it seemed like that they were building up towards, you know, France being the big bads, and also with the postcard scene of World Beyond, you know, nothing came out of that. And also The Ones Who Live, right? It genuinely seemed like that they were building up towards Major General Beale being the big bad, but of course that did not happen as well. So I think that what they're going to do is that they're going to have Rick Grimes showing up here and there, right? Having all of these characters reunite at the end of those shows and make it seem like some sort of finale. They announce a Walking Dead season 12 probably right before Dead City season 4 premieres, or probably even when Dead City season 3 premieres. I think that's when they're going to announce this new spin-off. And then we're finally going to see the main villain of whatever crossover spin-off or movie in either Dead City season 4 or in the spin-off itself. I mean, it could just be walkers, right? You know, they could just have a whole reunion show, right? And they could just make it The Walking Dead season 12 and they just do their own thing, and they finally have some sort of thing to close the book of this universe. But yeah, that's it for today's video. I'd like to ask you all to like, share, and subscribe. And again, thank you guys so much for the growth. Thank you guys so much for the support. I really appreciate it. And please comment down below, what do you guys think? Are you guys very excited about Rick Grimes returning? And when do you think he will return in the Walking Dead universe? Comment down below and let me know. But yeah, other than that, thank you guys so much for watching.